Welcome to the second episode of the Double B podcast. This is Brad and Kevin. We are here with a special guest today, coming at you from our standpoint. We're going to get into what he does, why he does it. We basically just going to goof around for a little while, and we'll go from there, and it should be fun.
Awesome.
All right. Well, so this guy's been in the business of entrepreneurials for 25 years. Had 3 businesses, sold them, crashed one into the ground. Literally, he is one of the best storytellers I've ever listened to because I have listened to him all day long. And this is Dave Daley. And just the big dog, the monster motivator. I mean, how you doing, Dave?
All right, man. I'm excited to be here, guys. I know we've been connected on social media for a while, and I know Kevin and I connected out in Arizona at a event a few years back, Colby K's event. So, man, when I found out you guys were doing this and invited me on, and it's the second one, man. We're just starting to break that cherry. We love it. We love it. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, speaking of cherry, I mean, who lands somebody for a second podcast as big as Dave Daley? I mean, come on now. I mean, this is awesome. We're super excited to have you on. We are more than grateful.
Appreciate it, man. Right back at you guys, man. So, yeah, and like I was saying earlier, nothing's off the table. We roll real raw and live, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's just how we are. If we screw up, we really don't edit it. We think it's funny, so we put it on there. Yep, and that's the world we're living in today. It's interesting you went there because that's really what I love to share with people is your vulnerability becomes your credibility. Absolutely. And that's the truth, man. And that's why in my intro I make sure that I put in there, I highlighted, I read letters, crashed a business to the ground. And there's times where event planners, when they introduce me to come on stage, I've had some skip over it because they feel bad. And now I learned that I have to prep them in advance and say, make sure that you not only don't skip it, but you highlight it, because the things that I learned in that window of time, there's not a university in this world that I would have learned anything even remotely close to from that window of losing that business, going through bankruptcy, turning it all around, getting back up, wiping myself off. There's just not a university in this world that could have taught me the lessons I learned from that. I call them the life's boot camps.
Love it. I mean, that's one thing that we were super excited about when we decided to dive into podcasts. I mean, we have our YouTube channel where we just post random videos of whatever the hell we feel like, right? But we wanted to do this podcast partly because we kind of live so far away and we still wanted to connect. But at the same time, we had kind of gotten together and said, hey, you know what? Everyone's got a story. Everyone's screwed up. Everyone's burnt something to the ground. But if they are persistent, they can learn from those mistakes and grow and use it as basically a lesson to never repeat that again.
You know what? That's it. That's exactly it. And with the business I crashed to the ground, it was a burger joint. It was a restaurant here in Southern California. And not only that, learning from it, but really when you dissect it and you break it down, there's going to be so many successes in that, what people think is a failure. And the other thing I love to share with people that I coach and I train and kind of strategize for is, once you give up that, you give somebody else the right to define what you consider success and failure, that's when you lose. See, it's really up to you to define what success and failure really means for you in that moment. And when you give that up, you give up a part of you.
I'm not trying to take over, Brad. I'm sure you have something to say.
That statement just blew me away. So I was like, okay, I can't follow that up.
That totally just sparked a huge memory for me. And you mentioned that everyone has their own definition of success. And one thing I absolutely love to ask people, because nobody really dives into it until you ask them, I say, what is your definition of success? And the reason why I do that is because I heard a story some time ago. I don't remember who it was offhand, but he had said they had asked him what his definition of success was. And he was a CEO, he was a multi-million-dollar business owner. He said, my definition of success is being able to eat spaghetti in a white t-shirt without spilling it all over myself.
That's it.
And I was like, holy shit, there's the epiphany right there. Like,
right?
Wow. So you ask people and they're always like, oh, money. No, what is your definition of success? Like, for us, it's, I mean, for Brad and myself, and I'm not going to speak for Brad, but for me in this podcast, like, my definition of success is getting people on the show and just doing what we're doing now. Just stay in our lane and interview and, you know, exactly what we're doing. And I think it's fun. And to me, that's, you know, this podcast is already successful, even though we're only on episode 2.
100%, man, because you pulled the trigger, you did it, you moved forward. And yeah, I love that answer that he gave, because and that you shared that at this moment, because it really underlines, it highlights exactly the point we're trying to make, right? What is it? What's your definition of success? What's your definition of failure in that moment? And that's really all that matters. And we can even go a little bit deeper with that. Is, you know, you were saying a lot of people say their definition of success is a certain amount of money, or a financial or monetary, right? I also, and I know this firsthand, because one of my keynotes is knock out fear in the first round. My book is called Fearless is Bullshit, right? So it's about identifying those fear barriers, getting your lunch money back from that bully so you can move forward. And I also believe that way too many people define success for themselves by not being judged. And that's so sad, because you're giving up that power. And I always say one of the biggest, probably the biggest fear barrier we all face on a consistent basis is what other people think of us. And here's how I tell people to combat that, right? How you crush that bully and get your lunch money back from that fear barrier. And it's simple. It's you're going to be judged. We're human beings. We all judge, right? I'm judged on a daily basis. Your only job is to make them accurate.
Yeah, I really, really like that. I mean, and to go on with Kevin's answer, you know, success is today. I mean, who gets their second episode in Daley, the Monster Motivator? I mean, we're talking about getting people on here, and it's like, holy crap, okay, didn't think he'd even respond. Okay, that's badass. That's this, is that. You know, something just to have fun, to screw around. I mean, my wife's upstairs making dinner, and she just walked in, and she whispered to me as you were talking, she goes, this guy's so cool. I'm like, yeah, I know. I've been stalking him all day trying to get questions.
Yeah, you know what? It's. I think it just comes down to that. And my definition of success is simple: your terms. Look, if you can live on your terms, you won. Whatever that means for you, and whatever that means for you in that moment, right? Your terms. And I love that. Again, I love that answer, man. Eating spaghetti out of a can with a white shirt and not getting it on you. It's so epic. That is so badass that yeah, I get the chills, man.
I heard that one time like 6 years ago, and that was the end of it. Like, that stuck with me forever, and it always will.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've never really heard it that way either. So I'm kind of gobsmacked with it too, because I spill all the time. Let's be real. I mean, water I spill. Come on.
That's why we have beards, so we don't spill on our shirt as often. It catches it.
Playing the curve.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah, and it's, you know, with that quote for me, what that does is just, and I think it would do for a lot of people, is takes the pressure off.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, what he's saying is stop taking this shit so serious, man. Right? Just
roll with it. And the other thing that I've learned over the years is that a lot of people either don't realize or were never really explained or just don't believe it's our right to have fun. It's our right to feel good. And I think that's so overlooked in our day-to-day reality. And one of the things that's been a big game changer for me over the last 6 months is I have a morning routine. It's called the Monster Momentum Morning. And it's actually 2 hours, and it's 4 different types of meditation. And I also add in throughout the day, it's called, if you see some of my posts lately for the last few months, it's called the Daley, Daley, right? We have to keep the branding strong. The Daley gift list. So what it is every time I feel like life is throwing me a gift, right? Whatever that is, it could be the smallest thing. It could be brand new sheets on my bed, and they just feel so good, man, when I'm going to bed, right? The littlest things. I put a list on my phone, and I have a list every day, and I'm usually somewhere between 20 to 30 gifts throughout the day that life has thrown me, and I know I've missed a ton. And that right there changes it gives you a paradigm shift and gives you that momentum throughout the day that you're just flying through the day, instead of most people will tell you at the end of the day all the shit that went wrong, right? I want to be able to look back and say, man, look at these gifts that life threw at me every single day. So that Monster Momentum Morning has been a major game changer for me.
That is actually something that, that's very impressive, because, a lot of people will have one bad moment in their day and they'll let it make their whole day go to shit. And they're like, oh, I had such a horrible day. This happened. Well, what else? I don't know.
Yeah.
So to do that, I think not only helps keep you grounded, but I think it helps you keep a more positive outlook on life. And I think that that's something that our viewers should definitely look more into in the near future.
Yeah, and you want to know something, man? We go deeper on that comment, a much more positive outlook. Really, let's even define that even deeper. What does that really mean? And the Monster Momentum Morning, for me, the meditations and the gift list, what that really, if you ask me to define that in one sentence, it's just a better quality of life, man.
Absolutely.
You just feel better. That's what it's about. You just feel better. As you feel better, all of a sudden, everything starts to change. It's all about the energy. It's all about what you put out comes back at you just like a boomerang, man. Life is a boomerang effect. And I'm at the gym this morning, right? I mind my own business. I try not to make eye contact with people. I'm in there, right? And I do my
work.
And I go to the first area where I'm going to hit chest, and this little old lady comes up to me and she says, hey, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, of course. She said, hey, how do I get rid of this flab here? So I started talking to her and giving her some pointers, and I said, well, there's trainers here. She goes, no, I don't like them. I said, okay. I said, how come? She says, I don't like how they treat me. I said, okay. And she said, but I really like you, and I felt the energy from you, and I felt like I could come up and approach you. And to me, what that tells me, it's a reinforcement that the universe is going, you're in alignment. And I wasn't even making eye contact. I purposely don't make eye contact with people at the gym because I want to get in. I want to do my thing and get out. That's my iron therapy. That's my time. So I specifically do not make eye contact, and she felt the energy. So I think that's important for your viewers to understand, is what you put out comes back at you, right? Like energy attracts like energy, good or bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, with me having a bad back, I mean, a misstep can screw my back up for a week. And people are like, well, how do you deal with it? There's nothing they can do except for surgery. And I'm 30. I'm not going to have them fillet my back open. I'm fine. I can take the good with the bad. It's a hit on the chin, whatever. Life does go And I mean, to go on to exactly what you give to life is exactly what's going to give it back. If you are trying to give life that piece of crap that nobody wants, it's going to give it right back to you. You got to be happy, and you got to find the happy sometimes. I mean, I've been in the way to where, it's super depressed, can't figure it out. I'm always angry at something or someone, or something makes the bad day. And finally, one of my buddies went, what's your problem? And it was actually Kevin. And I went, what the hell is your problem? Did you wake up? Did you have food in your belly? What's your problem? And, I had to take that and step back and go, you know what? Yeah, today's a good day. I woke up. I win.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I love to share with people is we all find ourselves in that funk, right? Somewhere along the line in your life, because we're human. But if you can look at that funk as contrast, see, contrast is the power. Contrast is the superpower, because it tells you what you don't want. So now you can focus on what you do want. It's a lot like when I coach people and we get down to it. Like, what do you want? Right? And they tell me, they throw up on me, right? They tell me what they don't want. So what we do is we write all those down, and then we look at what's the polar opposite of each one of those in whatever categories. And then once we write down the right side, the polar opposite, we get rid of the left side. Because again, we're conditioned to think of all the bad, right? We're conditioned to think of all the things that went wrong instead of changing that conditioning. And it's like little kids, right? Most little kids, every day is like Christmas morning. That's what I love about my dog. Every morning is Christmas morning. I could leave for 10 minutes, come back, and it's like he hasn't seen me for days, right? It's living in that moment, that absolute joy that we actually are supposed to live. And that's where that hiccup comes in.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to go. I mean, I was going to ask this a little earlier, but for people that don't know who Dave Daley is, at 30,000 feet, what was your start? How was the start from?
Here we go. Let's do it. So I'm going to take you from day one. First of all, I want people to understand that I'm not even really supposed to be here, from what they told me. So I was put up for adoption at birth. First 18 months of my life, I was in an orphanage in North Philly. For most people that don't know, but most do, I'm not from California. I'm from the East Coast. It takes people about 2 seconds to figure that out usually. So first 18 months of my life, I was in an orphanage in North Philly. I was adopted by two amazing human beings, and then left back in the second grade, diagnosed with ADD, said I had a learning disorder, never graduated high school. At 19, I'm sitting in a jail cell looking at 8 to 10 if things don't go my way. A few years after that, had a real bad motorcycle accident, broke everything on this side, punctured a lung, intensive care for about 4 or 5 days, and that helped catapult me and helped me break through one of my biggest fear barriers at the time. I was 4 years in, almost 4 years into my first business, and I wanted to sell, but I was afraid, right? My old conditioning said, what if you sell and you can't do this again? What if you just got lucky, right? What if, right? My old conditioning came back, because my old conditioning was I'm not supposed to be there, right? All the experts, as I was growing up, they put me in counseling and trying to figure me out, right? And all they had to realize is I just had the entrepreneurial DNA. I was bored out of my mind in school, right? Thank God for sports. I'd be even more trouble growing up in school. So what happened was I was afraid to make that move, but something deep inside me kept pulling me, saying it's time to sell. It's time to sell. And I'm scared. So I took a long weekend, me and my wife at the time, up in Vermont, lost control of my bike, hit a boulder. We were going up a mountain, hit a boulder, and then found myself in intensive care. After I got out, the doctor had told me that if I would have hit any differently, I would have been dead or paralyzed. And it was like life just gave me a wake-up call, right, and said, look, today's not guaranteed, tomorrow's not guaranteed, and if it is, it might not be the same, right? I could be in a wheelchair. I could be paralyzed. I could be
paraplegic, right? Or I could be dead. And from that point on, within that year, I wound up selling my first business, started my second business. And from that point on, I never let that fear barrier stop me again. And that's why I was able to build and sell 3 companies in 3 different industries, because life checked me, right? And said, this is the real. And so that's kind of the 30,000 foot view of me and Dave Daley, and everything that I share from stage, everything that I teach clients comes from real world experience and things that I've done and tried, and then things that I've learned from mentors in my life. So everything's, for me, it's got to be the real world, man, or it doesn't count.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, coming from, me and Kevin's perspective, good old boys in Utah, we go and screw around, hunt, fish. Kevin does IT stuff. I work at a sewer plant. I work with my hands. I'm good with my hands. I have no idea how computer stuff works. And, somebody asks, he goes, why are you doing this? Why not? Mm-hmm. Well, what if you suck? Oh, then I suck. I figured it out. And I think that's one thing that kind of doesn't stop me and Kevin is we don't care. We're in it because we're having fun. We're in it because maybe 10 or 12 other people will like it too. And I think that's one barrier that everybody is always afraid of, is the fear factor, because they don't. I don't want to say they don't get it, but I don't think they don't get past it. Mm-hmm. I used to competitive power lift 4 years ago before I destroyed my shoulder. Mm-hmm. I freaking loved that fear, because I knew I was doing something big. Yep. I'm going up there to grab that weight and let's go. And people are like, I hate it. Oh, I ran on it for years because it was awesome. And I think if people could learn how to contain it, I think it changed their lives their entire life.
100%. I think it's just it is about, the reason I retitled my book Fearless is Bullshit is, growing up where I grew up, and you guys, I'm sure the same, is we're conditioned to think that, especially as guys, right, and we're becoming young adults and men, if you feel fear, there must be something wrong, right? You're weak, or you're not looking at it properly, or there's something wrong, something's broken. What I realized over the years is that's just bullshit, right? It's misinformed information. Fear is a feeling just like love, just like anger. It's what do you do with it, right? It's either going to be your heaviest anchor or your strongest propeller, but you get to decide. And that's why I believe that it's really about becoming courageous. See, courage comes from the 3-letter word core, which comes from here. And when you can break through that fear barrier and you get to the other side, now you start to build that courageous part of you, which is my favorite subject of all time, because I think it's the epicenter, is our self-image. See, I was taught years ago, your self-image can be built up, it can be tore down, but it can't be outperformed. So wherever your self-image is, that's where it is. But you can move it up, or you can let somebody tear it down. And I believe the greatest gift that any adult can give any child, whether it's their child or not, is a bulletproof self-image, because you're going to teach that child how to fish, and teach that child that no one has to fish for them.
Absolutely. I completely agree 100%. Well, speaking of self-image, we're talking to Dave Daley here, and I'm 6'1", 230 pounds, and I swear your arms are as big around your waist, man. I met you down a couple of years ago, and I was like, holy shit. He's a big guy.
Hey, don't tell anybody. I take the air out of him at night. Don't tell anybody. I ruin my image.
Oh, I don't believe that for a second.
But since you guys do powerlifting and things like that, you get it. It's you find your zen, right? Whatever it is that is your zen, and whatever that is for people, right? Whether it's yoga, whether it's reading, whatever that is, find that so it helps you center. And the gym for me has always been my whole life, either sports or the gym. because I started wrestling in the 4th grade. That was my sport that I loved. I was so hyper, so crazy, right, that they just threw me in the padded room for 4 hours and I was in my glory. I loved it. I wish I would have been young enough to I wish MMA was around back then, because it would have just I would have been in my glory. But yeah, man, it's finding that center, finding that alignment, I think is so important, and I think so many people miss it.
I want to digress back a little bit.
Yeah.
I had kind of a similar story. I'm not going to get into my story. This podcast episode is not about me, but I had a very similar upbringing. I had not the adoption part and all that, but I had the learning disorder. I was in the resource classes. I took speech therapy. I had anger management that I had to go take. I graduated high school late with a 1.9 GPA. But I did the same thing. I actually played hockey. I played for almost 14 years, and it was the same thing. Like, hockey was just that was my thing. It was awesome to be able to hit people.
Yeah.
But still stay in shape,
And not get arrested.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's so true. And, one of the things you brought up, and so did I, right, in my bio, is a learning disorder. Well, it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier about what's your definition of failure, right? What's your definition of success? Wait a minute. Why do I have to take that title on if I don't agree with it, right? Just because somebody with a degree on their wall says that, right? Because what I've learned over the years, there's a whole lot of different types of education, a whole lot of different types of intelligence. And if you think that there's only one, you might want to look at your intelligence again.
Absolutely. And I think the way that the education system and everything is built now, and I'm going to go ahead and just say it because it's an unpopular opinion and that's what I'm about, is somebody asked me, they said, "Oh, you have a bachelor's degree?" I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Why don't you have a master's?" I said, "Because it was bullshit and I dropped out." And they're like, "Wait a minute, what do you mean it's bullshit?" And I said, I know people that I work with or have worked with in the past that don't even have a high school diploma, yet they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and they're happy. But I know people that have their masters and their PhDs and stuff like that, they're miserable because they hate their job or they hate, whatever, and they're just not happy. And I think that the whole system is broken just because you have to go to high school and then they say, "Oh, you have to go to college or else you're not going to get a good job." All you're really going to do is screw yourself into a shitload of debt, and then you're never going to repay it, and then you're going to be in that, circle forever. And so somebody asked me anyway, they're like, "What's the benefits of college?" I said, "Don't do it. Go to a trade school. Find something you want to learn. Go get certified and go do it. Be a lot happier, and you can make more money."
I say this all the time, man. If the shit is broke, right? That the system is broke. And I use this example. So let's just say you're going to go to most kids go to college. They have no idea why they're even there, what they're going to do, and what's the end game, right? What's the end result for this, right? Most don't know any of that shit, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going to be getting in to 50, 75, 100, $200,000 worth of debt. So it's like me or you going into the bank and saying, "Listen, I want to start this business. I need $200,000, and when can I pick the money up?" And they're going to say, "Well, where's your business plan? And how are we going to get paid?" "I don't know. I don't know." They're going to kick you out of that bank so quick, or probably call security on you, mm-hmm. right? You're fucking arrested. Think about that. What a horrible business plan that they're promoting. You have no idea why you're there. You have no idea what you want to do, and you have no idea what the end result is, but you're willing to sign, or your parents are willing to sign for hundreds of thousands of dollars of fucking debt that you can't bankrupt out of. Are you fucking kidding me? What? Right? And I think, and here's the other thing, is Gary Vee is so on this, man. He blames it on the parents, because so many parents do that just because they want to look good. Yeah, my kid's going to this college, or my kid's doing this, or my kid got this degree, because it feeds their ego. Because at the block parties, they have something to tell their fucking neighbors. This is a subject, man. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
love it when you get passionate. It just
the same way.
I am amped right now.
Yeah, I mean, my dad served in the Marines, and the first thing he told me was either A, a mission, B, you're working, C, you're at school. I don't care. Get your ass out there. And I mean, that's how I grew up, because that's how their parents were. Their parents lived through the Great Depression, and you get your butt to work.
Yep.
You work, you do it. I don't care how you do it, but you do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a bunch of new people at work that are the same way. Well, it's a good paying job. Do you like it though? I like my job. Do you like it? Well, a lot of it sucks. Okay, well then why are you here? If you don't like it and most of it sucks, then what are you doing with your life? Find something that you want.
Yeah. And that's I think now we're going back to that fear barrier, right? Most people don't believe that they should have it or they could have it, whatever that is for them. So and it's funny because life is just so, I always say life is simple, not always easy, but the simpler you make it, the easier it becomes, right? Think about this. Everything we're talking about goes right back into a circle, either success, failure, self-image, what people think, right? Judging. It all goes back, man. It's just under one big umbrella that once you figure out the pieces, everything starts to clear up. That clarity starts to come through. That's why I'm a big fan of whatever it is you want to do. If you don't know how to do it, then find somebody that's been there and done it, right? For two reasons. They've walked the path, right? So you're going to save time and money. And it's so hard on a daily basis to see the picture inside the frame. And that's what a mentor or a strategist or a coach, whatever you want to call them, helps you do. And one of the things, Kevin, you're going to love this. So the event that me and you met at, Kobe's, well, I connected with Tom Bilyeu at the time, because he was the keynote.
Yep.
And for anybody that doesn't know, Tom Bilyeu and his two partners and his wife took a brand from scratch to a valuation of $1.2 billion in 2017. And the reason I know that is because he got bought out and they were Quest protein bars. So that being said, I actually reached out to him after that, after we connected at the event on his DM in Instagram and invited him on the Monster Motivator TV. He invited me out to it's on YouTube. Invited me out to his place in Beverly Hills, and we did a fucking epic episode with him. But check this out. You ready? This is a man that built a $1 billion company in 8 years, right, from scratch. And you know what? I said to him, I go, look, Tom, you've given us a lot of great stuff, but we need some more gold nuggets, man. I said, you built a $1 billion brand. So he says, this is my best advice, and here's what I do all the time. I said, what is it? He said, and he was so genuine, man. He said, whenever I want to learn something new, I find the people that have been there and I sit at their feet. That's a man that built $1 billion. You want to talk, that gives me the chills. You want to talk about humbling? And he's so genuine that when he said it to me, I had him repeat it, and it made me feel so humble. That was his exact words. I sit at their feet. And, right? Right? And it kind of goes back to your guy that was talking about the spaghetti, right? Like when you kind of peel back the layers of these fucking people that are successful at that level, it's just, again, it's simple, but not always easy. Isn't that interesting, man?
I'm slightly speechless.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've always told people, and this is kind of a popular quote that people just say, but never be the smartest person in the room, right?
Yep.
And that's exactly what he just said in his own words, and it's fucking incredible.
to be that grounded, that humble, and then you say to yourself again, like the guy with the spaghetti, then you dissect it and you go, well, fuck, that's the magic potion then, right? That's the magic potion. Stay grounded, stay humble, and keep learning. Yeah.
That's why I like your list. I think that's an incredible idea. And
oh man,
I mean, I did like the 4 pillars and stuff like that. I worked with a couple people. I'm not going to say who, but and the 4 pillars actually was kind of enlightening to me. But I like your idea where you take 30, 40 things and just write them down, and then just be appreciative of more or less the little things and the things that you do have, rather than focusing like, oh, I want to buy, like Gary Vee's like, I want to buy the Jets, and I'm like, be happy for what you have, you know. And
and here's where the real, what I found the real power comes in with the daily gift list is when I literally do the best I can to stay focused in that moment. And so when that little thing does, like, I'll just put on there, and if you read it, some of the stuff won't make sense to you, right? But for me, it is. I'll just put customer service, meaning that if I went to a restaurant, I went somewhere, the customer service was just awesome because I brought that energy in. That energy came back to me, right? So so that reminds me. And then when I write that down in my phone, in that moment, it's just like you're flying, man. You just feel so good, and you don't want to lose that feeling. So now it's a domino effect. Now you're looking and you're searching, where's the next gift? Where's the next gift? Right? Where's the next gift? Instead of, I had a flat tire. I had, all the bad shit. Where's the next gift? And all of a sudden you find yourself just flying through the day. There's been times where I'm like, I swear to God, I'm in my truck by myself and I'm like, holy fuck, this is good. This is great. Yeah. So that's been a game changer, man. That and the different types of meditation for me. And I'm actually putting together what I do in a systematic way to include that in some of my programs. So that's how much of a game changer it's been for me, man. And you're looking at a guy that a year and a half ago, if you said to me, I'm going to be meditating, I'm like, did you bump your head? Right? I just never thought, man, but that's a game changer, man. It is an absolute game changer. And one of the guys that really helped me get there was a guy named Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I bring his name up because he has so much scientific proof that when you meditate, when you quiet your mind, things actually happen inside of you. He has over 8,000 brain scans over the last few years. So again, anybody out there that's listening and they say this is foo-foo bullshit, go talk to Dr. Joe Dispenza because he has real scientific proof of brain scans, heart scans, body scans. When people are in meditation, when he breaks that down for people that are kind of naysayers, it's a game changer, man. It was for me. I know that. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. So anyway, there's my rant for meditation.
Yeah. I mean, everybody asks, how do you center yourself? I'm like, well, I go hunting, I go fishing. Mm-hmm. I try to kill something. If I don't, then I'm out in God's country. So, where else are you going to find something that calm?
You know what? That's a great point, right? I'm so glad you brought that up. Again, everyone has their own definition of meditation, like an artist, right? When they're painting, they're in their zen. A musician, when they're on stage, right? They're in their zen. And I think, too, and I go back because I'm such a big MMA fan, is why some of these guys keep coming back when they should have retired, because they're searching for that feeling again, right? They're searching for that zen, whatever that is for you. So great point, man, to really talk about the meditation. It doesn't have to be what most people think it is. That's why I do 4 different types. I learned through marriage counseling that I need motion meditation, meaning when I'm in my truck or I'm in the gym and I'm moving, that helps clear my mind. I love that at certain times. So that's a huge part of what I do on a daily basis. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny because I'm the same way. Like, I do 2 different types of meditation. I don't do it often, but like, here's a perfect example. Right, Brad just got married like a month ago,
Yeah,
and
33 days ago.
woohoo! Anyway, for his bachelor party, like, we didn't hire strippers or go to Vegas or anything crazy. We rented a boat with a bunch of our close friends, and we went and spent the day on the lake fishing.
I
And that
love it, man.
seriously like the funnest day we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And you know what people can, Kevin, you know what people really should take away from that? You ready? You know
Yeah.
where the real power is in that? It's self-awareness. Absolutely, right? Knowing who you are and acting on it, right? Because if we step back, you started this story with, hey, we didn't do the strippers, we didn't do the Vegas, we didn't do that, right? Which most people say you should, right? And if you don't, what's wrong?
Yep.
But understanding, right, that your level of awareness, knowing who you are, knowing what works for you, knowing what doesn't, but then having the courage to go do it, right? That's what I think that the golden nugget is out of that story, man. Because and the way you explained it, you were right back in that zen. You were right back in that boat, right? You saw yourself there, and that brought you right back into that zen. So I think, self-awareness is so is such a game changer. And again, that goes back to your meditation, whatever that is. So yeah, man, I just wanted to that just jumped out at me.
Yeah, I didn't even think it that way. I was like, yeah, we're going fishing. Awesome.
Right?
Well, it's like we're gearing up for an elk hunt here pretty soon. We're going to be out in the woods for 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And
Wow.
even if it's not successful in some people's terms, say we don't get our elk, still going to be successful to us, because not only are we going to spend time out in the woods away from people, we don't have the hustle and bustle. We're going to be, in our zen again. We're going to be camping and everything like that. And not only that, we all get to bond for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And here's the other gift that it gives you. Look how it's making you feel now, right? Just thinking about it, right? You're in a zen, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not even that you look at you, right? It's like Christmas morning for you, right? You're already there. So the gift is life has already thrown you those gifts now, because you booked it, you're moving forward, you're going to be there, right? So that energy is already, and now it resonates with me. I feel that energy when I look at your face when you're talking about it, and I feel how your body changes. Yeah, man. So that's where I think people don't miss that part of it, right? This is still part of that zen right now, because you're already there.
I think people get caught up. They get way too caught up in the busy life. Like when I just actually moved here from Salt Lake. Now I'd mentioned I live in a small town, but we get it was so busy all the time. Like every weekend I had this scheduled and this planned and this planned, and I never got time to do anything. And after we moved, I was like, you know what? We need to get out and do more shit that we want to do and enjoy our lives and just say fuck it and go. Just drop everything and kind of just get in your zone.
That's it. It's that self-awareness. And then on the flip side, if you are that person that loves that grind, right? That loves that, like we talk about the hustle, then maybe that's your zen. Whatever it is, but figure that out. And I'm a big believer in this, man, that the ones that never get burned out, whatever it is they do, it's simply because it's inspired action. We hear about the hustle and the grind and take action and keep going. But when you can really step back and know that it's inspired action, that's where the game changes, man. Inspired action is what keeps you fueled, what keeps that fire going, whatever it is.
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, to add on Kevin's note, I mean, I've worked almost 2 or 3 jobs at the one time, because it's like I need money to do this, money to do that, money to do that. And I grew up in the millennial age where money is king. And the more and more I listen to my parents, the more and more I listen to friends. Yeah, money's great, buys freedom, but I mean, have you ever seen the sun come over the Colorado Rockies? I mean, I have. That's the most beautiful thing in the world to me.
That was like that post that Dave put up. You put up a post, just last week, of the sunset.
Yeah, just the other day in Carlsbad. And it's so funny is that morning, the next morning, I wake up. I'm up between 4:30 and 5 every morning without an alarm. And I walk out to my driveway, and there's the clouds, like it was just like it ended my day. And the universe is like, check this one out. You thought that was cool last night? Check this one out. Again, right? That's a gift to me. That's a gift, right? Because in the gift is that I'm aware of it, right? That I appreciate it. That to me, that's the gift, because I appreciate it. It's just like people pull into a parking lot in the mall or at the gym or at the bank or at a restaurant and are looking for the closest spot. And since my motorcycle accident, I always want to and my motorcycle accident was 15, 18 years ago, right? I do everything I can to stay conscious of I get to. See, I park far away because I get to walk up there. I get to do it. And that's one of the things I learned from a mentor of mine, Dave Meltzer, that that's a huge paradigm shift, is when people are in a funk, or like you were talking about, hate their job or whatever it is, right? If they can step back and change that paradigm shift, everything starts to change. Instead of I have to go to work, I get to go to work. Because guess what? You could be in a hospital bed with a terminal illness. You could be in jail, or you could be dead. That's a reality, right? So I get to. That's a game changer too, man.
Funny enough, what is it? 4 years ago now, I got sepsis. And, I mean, they didn't know what sepsis really was 4 years ago. They understood what it did to you, but they didn't really know how to really tell it that it was sepsis. And everybody asked me, he's like, well, they gave you so many antibiotics that hurt your kidneys and your liver. And it did this and it did that. I had to relearn how to walk. I had to do this. People are like, well, why didn't you give up? I mean, I tried, but life said, no, get your ass back in the game. And like this morning, I woke up and went, I really don't want to go into work. This is retarded. This is stupid. I went, you know what? Get up, be a man, let's go. Time to go. And I mean, my wife laughed at it when I told her about it. And she goes, well, you said it, be a man, let's go. I mean, and that's something that I've always got to think about is, why am I always thinking about the negative? Yeah, does work suck sometimes? Yeah, but I mean, it makes me happy because I get money. I mean, I get to go down and hang out with Kevin. I mean, we get to do this. So it can't be too bad.
Yeah, and there's so many way worse alternatives, man. Like I said, hospital bed, jail, or dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say you get a new client, and he's like, okay, I want to come up with this idea. Say it's a new pencil, right? What are your steps to help them, get their dream on?
The first thing I do with anybody, no matter what, is we go through this process called 7 levels deep, and it's 7 levels on your why. And the interesting thing about the 7 levels deep is the first 3 come from up here. The second 3 come from here. And when you get to 7, it combines both, which brings your soul into it. So we go 7 levels deep on your why, whatever it is that you're doing. And anybody listening to this can use this in their personal or professional life on so many avenues, the 7 levels deep for sure. And then when you're using an example like that, it's really going to be more customized, right? What once we get to that 7 levels deep, then the next step is, okay, where do you want to go with this, right? Is it direct to market? Is it wholesale? You know, if you're talking about an example like that, but it really comes down to, let's get 7 levels deep and then go from there. And I'm a big part of what I do too is teaching people the power in today's world of connecting your personal brand and your business brand, because when you do it correctly, right, in today's world, your business brand will follow your personal brand, right? When I speak from stage, I'll have, hey, raise your hands. How many people here are on social media? 98, 99%, right? Sometimes 100% will say, yeah, I'm on some sort of social media. Okay, well, you know what that means? It means you're a global brand, whether you like it or not, right? And what are you going to do with that global brand, right? How do you morph that? How do you leverage that? And that goes back to, I love talking about this, and it ties right into it. Most people they want to know, how do I get security in life, right? Personal or business, right? Do I get that job because it has the 401k and has a retirement? Do I marry this girl or this guy because I feel like it's going to be security, right? Do I have kids so I have somebody to take care of me when I get older, right? That's just real, what people think about security, and it drives people to do things that they might not normally do or move them into a different direction. Here's what I say. Here's the deal. If you want security in your personal life or your business life or both, it's simple. Bring more value than the other person and you're guaranteed security. Bring more value than the other person in your marriage, in your family, in your business life, in your professional life, and you will have lifelong security. And that ties into your personal brand. What I started with is, once you start to build that personal brand, now you could branch off and do whatever it is you want, because that's your security. That's you. Nobody can duplicate that, as long as you're willing to find the courage to do it in your flavor, right? That's the golden goose, right? That's the golden egg, is having the courage to do it in your flavor. And it goes back to what I said earlier, sharing your signature story, sharing your story that got you here, and understanding that that's what separates you from everyone else. That's your superpower, and your vulnerability is your credibility.
I want to deep dive on that a little bit more from my perspective. And I'm going to take a line out of Colby Kay's book, so I'm going to quote him on it. But at that event, he said, just because, like, I was thinking, like, what is value? Because you mentioned relationships, for example. What is value in the relationship, right? There's quality content plus consistency equals value, is what he had stated. And while you were saying that, I was thinking, what could quality content actually be in terms of like a relationship or anything like that? Then it came to me, like, its physical actions could be your content, in terms of like going ahead and making sure that the carpet's vacuumed before the wife gets home. You know what I mean? And little things like that. And if you do it consistently, I think that definitely adds more value to what you're bringing to the table in terms of a relationship, for example.
For a personal relationship, you know what jumps out at me when you said that? Communication. Right? Communication in that relationship. So the clearer that communication is, it just, the better. It's one of the things that I always say is, you need this, your foundation has to be, and you have to be clear on your non-negotiables. And when you're clear on your non-negotiables, that means everyone in your inner circle, personally and professionally, are clear on your non-negotiables. Now we can all move forward, right? I think that's where a lot of people fall down with having kids, right? There's not clear non-negotiables, right? You're the parent. You need those non-negotiables so the kids know, and you know what's right, what's wrong, what's acceptable, and what's not. And I think when you can get those non-negotiables clear in your head, all of a sudden all your relationships start to really, really clear up and get stronger.
Not only clear in your own head, but you got to communicate that effectively and make
right.
Sure.
Communication.
Yep,
that's it. And you're clear on that. And the other thing we were talking about, value, is one of the things that when you bring more value than the other person, here's what it does, right? It lets life do all the heavy lifting. So here's what I mean by that. If you're bringing more value than the other person, and the other person wants to bring more value than you, what happens? You both climb the ladder. But if you're bringing more value than the other person, and all of a sudden you're looking around and you're like, wait a minute, this is a one-way street. Now that gives you an opportunity to make a decision. Is this really a win-win, right? Now life, I always say, our two most powerful parents we'll ever have is Mother Nature, always on perfect timing, and Father Time always tells the truth, right? So Father Time comes in and will let you evaluate on a real basis. Is this relationship feeding me or starving me? That makes sense?
Absolutely.
I really like that. Yeah, I really like that, actually.
Yeah, it just to me, it's like life 101, right? Again, security. Just bring more value than the other person. Then they're going to bring more value. Then you're going to bring more value. And all of a sudden you have a tennis match, right? And you're just you're volleying back and forth. Does it get any better than that?
Yeah. I mean, when I first met my wife, she was living in Boston at the time. I didn't even meet her in person until we were technically going out for 3 months. And people are like, well, you're stupid. You're nuts. Well, okay. All right. And then she goes, well, I need to know your non-negotiables. I go, what? And she goes, yeah, what are things you will not negotiate on? I go, hunting, fishing, hanging out with friends, working out. And she goes, great. I like to go and fish. I like to camp. I probably won't go hunting, but that's okay. I mean, I'm like, okay, come and camp. Do it. And I mean, I think that's one thing that, there's people at work that have been divorced 4 or 5 times. Yeah. And I'm like, are you guys not talking at all? Because, that, to me, I'd probably be done with one. Because it'd be like, okay, it's probably my fault because I'm not talking to him enough.
Yeah. No, it's and getting back to Kevin's statement, right? Like the vacuuming, right, before she gets home or whatever that is, right? That one of the things that you said is when you tie in that communication with that physical action, now you both know why you did that, right? Because without that communication, that might get missed. Where you're thinking, man, how come she doesn't appreciate this? And she's just not seeing it how you see it. So when you do the communication, now that physical thing that you're doing, right, it just enhances. It kind of 10Xs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
Well, we've been talking for 55 minutes already. And I could literally sit here and talk all day. So we try to keep these around an hour. So I want to know if you would be willing to just talk about what you're working on now, like what businesses you're in, how people can reach you, and just kind of have you promote yourself more or less.
Awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate that. And it's been awesome, man. And I knew it was going to be though. So what I launched a division of Dave Daley International, Dave Daley, the Motivator, and business coaching, strategy sessions. So I have a program. It's a 90-day program, and it's called Brand Builder Bootcamp. And we just deep dive into tying your personal and your business brand in. And I love to work with business owners in the multiple 6 and 7 figures, because that's been my world, and also commission salespeople. That's really my niche, because again, that's been my world forever, right? All my businesses, I've been the main salesperson, the relationship builder, until I can replace myself, scale it, and then move up. So ultimately, I love to work with business owners, commission salespeople, help them rise above the noise, elevate their position in their industry, scale their business with their ideal clientele through genuine branding and personal development.
And I love it. I actually had a question, man.
Yeah.
You and Rob Garcia are both in the business coaching aspect.
Yeah.
And I saw that you guys were hanging out the other day. Do you guys ever butt heads about that? Like, he's got his own style, you've got your style, or
No, for
you
me,
don't talk about, or
no, you know what? It's for me. I believe that. Look, at the end of the day, it's always about creating, not competing. Right? How can we create? Because then that keeps you. I believe that we're either in one or two spots in life. See, we're only in. Again, life is so simple. So we're either in one or two states of mind. We're either in thriving or surviving, right? Surviving means we just need to get to that next moment. And when you're in that surviving state, you can't be creative. You can't open up. You just want to survive. That lion's ready to eat you, right? You're going back to that caveman day. But thriving is your open opportunity. You're open to creating with whoever wants to create with you, and you're putting that energy out there, and you become bulletproof. So it doesn't matter what other people are doing. You're always looking to figure out a way to collaborate, to create instead of competing. That's the way I look at it, man, and I love it.
I'm glad that you said that. That was words. I speak English good. I think that was an amazing response, because I think, and I know him. I'm not pretty well, but fairly well. And I think that you're both extremely genuine and both always looking to do exactly what you said, is kind of just build people up and radiate the energy and bounce ideas and create. So I think that was fantastic.
Yeah. And it's just the truth, man. It's just really the truth. And let me just add that onto this. And the greatest compliment I can ever get when I'm on stage or on a digital stage or interacting with people, whether you agree with me, whether you don't, whether you like me or whether you don't, as long as you leave there and you say he was real, that's it. Don't get any better than that for me. And it's funny, I have a quick story. I was doing a keynote at Shelter Island down in San Diego a few years ago, and I'm doing a keynote, and I see this girl in the aisle seat, and she's on her phone, and I'm doing my keynote, and I feel like I'm really connecting with people, and the room is just so energetic, but I can't get her attention, right? So I'm thinking, and that's all I'm looking at, right? I'm like, God damn, man, right? She's tough. At the end, we get done. I do a lot of meet and greet after, and we wound up meeting a bunch of us at the bar after, and we're just having something to eat. And I said, and she happened to be at the table, and I said, you know, I'm just curious, what'd you think of it? She goes, what'd I think of it? She goes, look at your timeline on Facebook. I look, and she goes, Dave Daley, the Monster Motivator, is so fucking real. And she put like 14 fucking exclamation points. Goes, that's what you were doing? She goes, yeah. I said, oh, man, thank you. Thank you. So, again, man, to me, that's what it's about. If someone could say he was real, like me, not like me, agree with me, not agree with me, that's all I want, man.
That's awesome.
All right, so I got one more question. I know it's long, but if you have one little tidbit of advice for somebody that is just, you know, not quite making the decision, is afraid of the decision, or, you know, is kind of sitting back and just afraid to bring something up, something new to the table, what would your advice be?
You know, tomorrow's not guaranteed, man. Right? It just, here's the deal. If it feels right in your soul, and you can only answer that, then you're obligated to move forward, because you were given this gift of life. It's an obligation, right? And people, when I had my restaurant went under and I closed up and went through all the struggles, people around this area, I got to know a lot of people, and they said, how did you bounce back so quick? How were you able to get back up on your feet? How were you able to? And I said, here's what I did. And this is the honest to God truth. is after everything was done and I shut it down, I had some time to myself, and I looked in the mirror and I asked myself this question. If I didn't do it, would I regret it? And if my answer was yes, I won. And my answer was yes. So now I can move on because I won. Because if I didn't do it, I would have regretted it. And that's what you have to ask yourself. If you don't do this now, will you regret it? If your answer is yes, now it's your obligation.
I freaking love that as an end note. Holy crap.
Just the super quick add on to that, like I had mentioned that we had just moved and we were a little bit priced out of Salt Lake. And we were talking about moving down to the county where we are now in like 10 or 15 years. And some stuff had come up and we ended up moving, obviously. And I looked at my wife, I said, you know what? What's our ultimate goal? What is our game plan for the future? Where do we want to end up? And she goes, well, down south. I said, let's fucking go. Let's do it now. And she was like, all right. Like we had a lot of planning and stuff went into it, but it felt so right. And it was such a pain in the ass to actually do the move. Brad can attest. But it just goes along with what you said. If only you can answer it, it just feels right. Go do it.
Yeah. And if you, Kevin, if you didn't do it, would you regret it?
Fuck yes, I would.
Okay. Right? So
oh, yeah.
Right. So now take it a step further in your mind. Now it's your obligation, right? Because you were given a gift of this life.
Absolutely.
Right? So now it's your fucking obligation. And when you can look at it that way, there is no fucking turning back. You have to burn those fucking boats.
Yep.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Man, it makes you feel good inside.
And I know it's your guys' podcast, but I feel the energy, so we're going to do this. So I always end up my show, Monster Motivator TV, with the Monster Motivator roar. Here's the deal, guys. Life is asking you a question right now. Do you want to purr like a kitten or roar like a lion?
Absolutely.
Oh, roaring like a lion.
Roar on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah!
I love it.
Couldn't help myself.
This is great.
Man, listen, I want to thank you guys for taking the time, man, and reaching out and inviting me on. And anything I could do to help promote it, don't ever hesitate. And anybody I could send your way, I certainly will, man. And I'd love to get the raw footage so we could chop this up and I'll be spitting it out to all my social media, tag you guys on it so we can just crush them with value, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, anybody that you think that we would like to interview, which is anybody, we don't care, send them our way. We would love to interview anyone and everyone.
I will, man. I'll send them your way. And, yeah, man, and anything I could do to help promote you guys, don't ever hesitate, man.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate that big time. That's
right back at you. Yeah,
all right.
back at you, man. So hopefully we gave some value.
Yeah, for sure.